Hi there, this is Matt, another random Gamergate video. Obviously, the big news today is that Milo's account has been banned, probably in response to some of the trolling that he was doing in regards to a certain individual who made really ill-advised Nazi comments a long time ago. I'm not a big student of other people's, ethnic backgrounds, but from what I understand, Milo has some Jewish ethnic background, and just wasn't. He didn't like what had been said, and he didn't really like the environment of gotcha, style journalism where you're looking at people's tweets, taking the things that they're saying out of context, and just using it to mess with people's careers and their lives. And I think he was probably trying to fight back with a little bit of that same fire. It looks like the special pipeline, the special preferential fast lane for complaints by a certain group of people, a certain ideology on Twitter, is already showing its true colors. Obviously, it was a concern at the beginning that it would be used to validate some people's complaints while other people's complaints were not heard. This is a perfect example of how a lack of neutrality can really be a problem. People can assert that they have some special need for preferential treatment and then begin to interfere with the neutrality, and before too long you start to see a lot of accounts getting banned, a lot of strange censure being delivered that certainly looks political, and that's definitely not going to be good for Twitter's reputation as an impartial place, for journalists to speak out and for public personalities to engage in conversation. To me, it seems pretty obvious that this is the kind of eye for an eye interaction that's going to happen when things are phrased as a conflict. And I know we didn't start this conflict, but this is obviously one of the situations where we get an IGF judge to apologize or to drop their to resign from their position, so they get a few accounts suspended, and it just I fear that no actual communication is occurring here. That the people who are opposing Gamergate conversation aren't understanding that that it's not a movement. I certainly am not a member of any movement. It's just a conversation. So when they attack people who are trying to provide information, it really does look like censorship. And this whole thing, I believe, started with an attempt to censor someone speaking out openly about what they believe was abuse. And then it spiraled into the discovery that a lot of attempts to speak out against ethical abuses of the system of game journalism that exists now. And these voices were censored in the places where they were attempting to communicate, like the sites where the actual articles were being published. So obviously attacking Twitter as an information pipeline just isn't going to work. People aren't going to stop conversing there. They are going to be able to continue to make accounts. They're going to continue to be able to communicate with each other. And at the end of the day, I think a lot of these bans are going to be repealed. I don't even know how long Roguestar Games was suspended. It didn't seem to be that long to me, maybe half a day. I don't know how well Milo is going to fare on that, but I know that people aren't going to stop listening to him because of this. The last thing that you've done is shut down this person's voice in the community. And we're gamers. The more you try to silence somebody, the more we're going to be convinced that that we have some reason to listen to them. And so it's really just, as much as it's a mistake to attack high-profile targets on the anti-side, it's a huge mistake to attack high-profile targets on the other side as well. A lot of people really like Nero. He's personable. I know that I came a little bit late to the party and found out late that he had made some disparaging comments about gamers, and he personally spoke to me and apologized for that. That was a great feeling. It was really nice to have somebody acknowledge that they had insulted, a group that I identify myself with. And I just think that things would have gone a lot differently if maybe the person that he was attempting to communicate his dissatisfaction with their previous Nazi comments had understood that lesson and had been able to apologize to him as directly. And so I think that you're going to have a really hard time shutting down anybody who's that personable and that adaptable, and that it's just going to backfire. Anyway, other than that, Gamergate seems to be going strong. All of this looks like it's going to result in a fairly large Black Friday, sort of Christmas season-like movement, and I'm really interested to see how that goes. There's been a lot of talk of not boycotting, and I think that's a good idea. Developers, game developers are facing a really difficult challenge here. Nobody wants to alienate players from their game. I mean, that's just not a good idea when you're developing a game to run the risk of alienating any demographic, no matter who they are. So as long as the media perception is that support of Gamergate is somehow a negative thing, I think a lot of people are going to be afraid to speak out about it. But if gamers show that they are entirely in favor of game development an art form, as a form of free expression, that they're in favor of free speech, freedom of the press, and freedom of artistic expression, and an ethical, just an ethical press, then I think that as long as that message is made clear, a lot of developers are going to see the gamers are not their enemies. The gamers are not trying to isolate them from any section of the market, like female players. That instead, this is just a matter of fairness. We're fine with social criticism of games. I personally am fine with social criticism of games. I would just also like more technical and merit critique of games. I would honestly like to know what people from backgrounds other than communications degrees or humanities degrees have to say about games. What are the interpretations of the physics? What are the interpretations of the historical perspectives, not from an ideological standpoint, but in relation to actual historical events, proven, factual, primary sources. And if this whole situation results in more detailed critique of games and a more serious critique of games, then I think that's good for all of us. It's already starting to show in the inspiration that it's provided to the community. I really do, as silly as it sounds, I think that Gamergate is going to be like Woodstock. I think it's going to be one of those events that, whether you were on the one side of it or the other, whether you thought they were a bunch of dirty hippies or thought it was the greatest musical experience ever, that it undeniably had an effect on the art forms and cultures that were involved. And I think Gamergate's going to be the same way. And I really do look forward to being involved with this for as long as it continues. I think the conversation is interesting. I hope that some of the things that I have brought up have been thought-provoking. I know that I have learned an amazing amount from this. The start of Gamergate represents the fastest accumulation of knowledge as far as marketing and development of games for the gaming community that I've ever acquired. And so this is amazing. It really does make it's as good as months of forum stalking and lurking around and just trying to figure out what people want out of a game. Now I'm hearing voices really loudly saying, this is what matters to me about gaming. This is what I want to see. This is what I don't want to see. And that information is the most valuable thing that game developers can have. So thank you very much, every single person that's been involved in this, and especially the high-profile targets who have taken a lot of hits because they've really kicked up the level of debate. I don't want it to ever be misunderstood. I really do appreciate all of the people who've brought their audiences to this situation, and I think we all do. All of those of us who really care about the future of gaming appreciate the people who have come in from outside of gaming. We just want to make sure that gaming remains about the people who are going to be spending the most time there. It really does come down to the same sort of thing as, say, soccer or any other professional sport. The game should be fun for casual people watching. The game should be fun for the diehards and the players and the people who work within the industry as well. And just like all of the professional sports, baseball, for example, have had growing pains. We're also going to have growing pains as an industry as this goes on. And I hope that we can keep corruption and that sort of thing out of the industry. It would be nice. It's the newest art form. That's really the notable thing here. Is as major art forms and major media go, games are the newest, and so we have the best chance here to apply everything that we've learned since the development of movies, since the development of television, about how censorship doesn't work, about how freedom of expression is important in every medium. We don't want to go through the same sort of things that we did with the Hays Code and the obscenity codes and all of the rules about what could or could not be said on television. That obviously we've mostly rolled back now. We've mostly come to understand that it's personal responsibility about what you can find on TV or what you can find in movies, or hopefully now what you can find in the internet to consume. That's your personal responsibility, each individual person, and that we don't really benefit from having any small cliquish organization claiming that they know what's best for human beings to consume as far as entertainment or information. Anyway, thank you very much for listening to this long ramble. I hope that you, if you're participating in Gamergate, that you will continue to do so, because your voice matters a great deal. So, thanks very much.